Rockstar brands build trust with their target audience by sharing their values and relating to their lifestyles, understanding their pains and their passions. The secret is to listen best, listening to understand and responding in a way that lets them know you are listening. Let's learn exactly how to build trust, like today's top brands, right now. Trust is central to brand loyalty. How to build trust. Hi everyone, it's Canon Wing from Inspiration to Millions. Right now, inside your mind, think about one of your important long-term relationships. The relationship you have with your parent or with a close friend or your children or your spouse. There's love, there's affection, and there's a sense of closeness. Perhaps there are different types of love and varying degrees of closeness, but there's one aspect that is common in all of these different types of relationships. It's trust. I read somewhere, and I agree with this, that trust is the bigger compliment than love, because trust is conscious, it's voluntary, and it's hard-won. So when my clients ask me what is the one key emotion they should strive to inspire when they're ideal individuals, I say it's trust. Inspire them to trust your brand. If you worked and gained their trust with branding, that signifies a host of things. It signifies that your consumer, your customer, your ideal individual believes your products or services are consistently of good quality. It means that your ideal individual thinks of you and your brand as honest and consistent and reliable. Think of how valuable this trust is, how difficult it is to build and maintain over generations. And yet, with a few key ideas and actions, it can be done. Seek first to understand, then to be understood, Stephen Covey famously said. It's a very important point with these words. It's not enough to create an excellent product or service and to present this to consumer with the assumption that they will like it, accept it, and stay with it. Today, consumers are much more discerning, and they seek out more from the brands than good quality products. As a brand, you have to reach out to your audience and find out how they want to feel, unless you can understand where they are today, what they need to get where they want to be tomorrow. You cannot make a difference to their lives, and you cannot become important to them. When you connect with your consumer, you want to leave them somehow better off than when you found them. You have to internalize their beliefs and behaviors. You have to start sharing and living with them. You have to make them feel like a hero. So let's go back to the metaphor about the important relationships in all our lives. Take your closest friends throughout your life. They have been people you recall who were really close in junior high school, but not so much in high school. There may have been college friends you made who drifted away when you started your professional life. However, it's also possible that there were one or more friends that you made in school who continue to be close, people you still count on, who are your closest buddies. The friendships that ended were possibly because of certain beliefs and behaviors that you no longer shared with those people, especially if you met them in junior high, right? Maybe you grew into different directions, or maybe your values just didn't match anymore. Maybe there was a significant breach of trust, and you felt unable to be close with that person ever again. Or maybe life just moved you both in different directions. The friends that stay with us are the friends that grow with us. Over the years, these relationships evolve with life's changes and continue to create new memories. It's easy to see how this will apply to your brand and your customer base as well, right? Shared beliefs and behaviors, being liked by your ideal individual, it's vital. As we often withhold trust from people who don't share our values and our beliefs, so do people reject brands that are not in sync with their lives and their realities. The customer-brand relationship is similar in that both share values, grow, and evolve together, just as the best friendships are about continuing rapport, comfort, harmony and empathy. The best way for brands to continue to earn trust is to be harmonious, empathetic, honest, and consistent. Trusting you is their decision. Proving them right is your choice. So, you as a brand want to gain the trust of your ideal audience with a good quality product, reliable service, and continuing to be intuitive and receptive and innovative. But in this effort to build on and strengthen existing trust, you must unveil the emotional component of that trust. You must come to know it. The feeling of trust is a strong emotional impetus to your ideal individual's buying decision. Brand loyalty is your business plan, and the way to have brand loyalty is by being consistent about everything, including your own personal actions. The case study of General Motors ideally demonstrates how hard-won brand loyalty can be squandered and lost merely because of thoughtlessness. Yes, I think you could put it down to simple thoughtlessness, a lack of insight into brand perception. Okay, let's get into it. General Motors was the all-American brand that everyone was rooting for, the world's largest auto company from 1931 till 2007, and a multinational corporation with a presence in 35 countries. It's a lot of jobs. However, in 2008, the American auto industry was in the doldrums, and very famously, the top auto brands came perilously close to insolvency. Ford, Chrysler, General Motors had to make a representation before the House of Financial Services Committee for a bailout. When the chief executive of GM, Rick Wagoner, arrived to give his testimony before the committee, he did so in the private company jet. Objectively, such a show of pomp and wealth is rather obscene when one is essentially asking for a handout. You don't show up in your private jet, right? This is thoughtlessness. Many lawmakers mocked this. It was hardly a sign of frugality. And also, I mean, it's just begging to be mocked. Wagoner also failed to hold up under the 2 days of grueling questions from the committee, not surprisingly, right? But even before it all started, the optics of the whole thing had already left a sour taste in people's mouths. When it became known to Wagoner's Detroit-Washington flight had cost an already cash-strapped company $20,000 when he could have easily flown a commercial airline, this invited some valid criticism. And they argued that in the overall scheme of things, where the company needed a multi-billion-dollar bailout, tens of thousands of dollars were immaterial. That's what they were saying. However, it's clear that this was an opportunity for the brand to make a statement and show good intent, good faith. This is where it failed miserably. Customers were not impressed, and neither was the committee. Rep. Gary Ackerman pointedly, glaringly, to the troubling inconsistency of Wagoner's plea for more public funds in spite of continued excessive private spending, something he called a delicious irony, and a little bit suspicious. I think those were a pretty polite way of putting it. He thought it was a little like seeing a guy show up at a soup kitchen in a high hat and tuxedo. I mean, certainly a lot of people agreed with him. Many simply thought that the actions of the head honcho displayed a personal arrogance and a callous disregard for jobs that were in peril, a general lack of empathy or awareness even of what the brand's customer base thought or wanted, right? You tell a lie once and all your truths come into question. After GM failed to secure the bailout, the car manufacturer reported heavy losses. Stakeholders essentially lost their entire investment. It's terrible. And GM went bankrupt. In June 2009, the company initiated Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings, and just like that, one of the biggest, most respected brands ever was at its knees. With the help of a $49.5 billion government reorganization plan in July 2019, GM did manage to totter to its feet, but it had to shed several brands. They closed Saturn, some company I named for several times, Pontiac, the iconic Hummer went down. Saab was sold to a Dutch automaker. And I'm not saying that things would have been okay if Wagoneer had traveled by commercial plane. I'm saying that it may have made the committee a little more kindly disposed of it towards him, right? I'm saying that the thoughtlessness, the arrogance he displayed was a symptom of a greater problem within his company. The company had failed to build better cars or revamp operations at a time when the world was enamored with nifty, compact, fuel-efficient cars made in Japan and elsewhere. GM arrogantly assumed that Americans would continue to buy the big gas guzzlers that they were making. This was a time when, with a country in depression, cash-strapped people were speaking about alternative fuels, electric cars, and hybrids. All come true now. There was clearly a serious disconnect between the company and their customers. In an increasingly competitive world, America's collective star itself had waned. In GM's decline, people saw their own decline, which made them feel vulnerable. They feared for the future of their children in a country whose supremacy and prosperity were no longer unquestionable. A study led by Dr. Michael Tuan Pham in Columbia University demonstrates another really important aspect of the way people spend money and the way that the emotions dictate choices. They found that while shoppers were more relaxed, they ascribed more value to what they were buying and were willing to spend up to 15% more than stressed shoppers. My point is that today's customers are discerning. They want to steer clear of anything that enhances their threat perception and will go to great lengths to avoid anything they perceive as threatening. Your ideal individuals have so many options today that they can simply delete you if they sense an inconsistency in your brand's characters. All of us are emotional beings looking for relevance, context, and connection. Clearly, the people at GM had no one to caution them against that PR disaster. If they did, that person's no doubtedly fired. No one to tell them about the ongoing alienation, the continued erosion of trust from their ideal audience. No one, this is, except for the audience themselves, the buyers themselves. And GM obviously wasn't listening. It was a missing emotional connect that cost the company everything. GM lost trust and lost money because they didn't have what I'm here to tell you about. If they had this and they knew this, they wouldn't have made that blunder like they did. So do this today. Put yourself in your customer's shoes, your ideal individual's shoes. Feel what they feel. Think from their point of view. Would you trust you? Would you, as a customer, trust others in your company? Do your people inspire that kind of trust? Is it likely that you or any of your people are likely to make that kind of huge blunder that GM Wagoneer guy made when they were presenting with a brilliant PR opportunity to show how much they care? How off-brand can you be, right? Be completely clear as to what your brand stands for and what it will never stand for. Make sure that your brand and your people, your team, are clear about your branding message. Your team will naturally support your brand when they can see your brand's promise holding true in their own lives, when that trust is there, and when they see it holding true in the lives of your customers. As an entrepreneur, you want to make it impossible for anyone to step off your brand, right? For anyone to have that misstep, anyone in your organization, any of your products, any of your messaging. What is the one thing that you can do today that would make it impossible for anyone in your company to step off your brand? Listen to your ideal individuals, because everything they say is an answer to this question. Identify what your ideal individuals are communicating to you and work with singular purpose towards making them feel heard. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, it's your brand's job to understand how the consumer wants to feel and to show them the way to a greater future. How much trust your brand inspires depends upon how well your brand listens And just remember these words by Zig Ziglar the Great. If people like you, they will listen to you. But if they trust you, they'll do business with you. And that's what we as entrepreneurs want most, to inspire trust. So strive to build that trust. Strive to be an inspiration to millions. And always remember to love what you do and love how you do it. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on a single thing. Subscribe below. And here's something else I think you'll love.